Sometimes when you drink tea, it's not only just the immediate flavor, but it's everything that happens after.
Place the tea leaves into the pot and pour hot water over them. Wait patiently for the leaves to fully unfurl. Fang Chien-ai, the fourth-generation tea master at Gen Tea in Yilan, upholds a family legacy of over 150 years.
My sister and my mom making tea is to keep it as traditional as possible, but really bring out the best of the tea.
每一个做茶的人都能够把重心放在做茶上面，不要去考虑利益，然后愿意多一点心思来把茶做好的话，我觉得台湾茶是真的没有办法被取代。
Taiwanese tea is world-renowned, with tea enthusiasts from all over the globe enjoying its flavors. Ai Fang began making tea at the age of 18. How did she find her place in a field dominated by men? How did she manage to produce high-quality tea that earned the respect of her peers after being initially overlooked due to her gender? Let's delve into the story of Ai Fang and see how she has preserved and promoted professional tea-making techniques, spreading the aroma of Taiwanese tea internationally.
如果每一个做茶的人都能够把重心放在做茶上面，不要去考虑利益，然后愿意多一点心思来把茶做好的话，我觉得台湾茶是真的没有办法被取代。
Place the tea leaves into the pot and pour hot water over them. Wait patiently for the leaves to fully unfurl. Next, serve the guest a carefully brewed cup of tea. Fang Chien-ai, the fourth-generation tea master at Gen Tea in Yilan, upholds a family legacy of over 150 years. She preserves the traditional techniques of her ancestors while enforcing even stricter quality standards for the tea leaves.
大概10年前，很少人会因为茶叶的品质去做农药的检验，然后去做一些茶树的茶园的管理的部分。那个部分，在大家都还没有做的时候，我就已经先去做那样子的事情。我们的 slogan 是 "Sit Pure"， 那我希望更多人能够喝到比较纯净，然后比较干净的茶。那为了这个目标呢，那我就愿意做这样子的支持。那也希望更多人能够了解这样子的感觉。一开始的时候呢，我们用的包装只是用比较素雅的包装，然后上面贴龙源茶庄，然后贴哪一个地方的产区。可是后来我常常遇到有客人跟我说：“哎，这个茶我买过，因为这个袋子，我记得这个袋子就是这个袋子。”那这个让我觉得很受挫，因为我们家的茶我是用了很多心思在做，那可能随便一个袋子3块钱，它就能够代表我们家。那从那个时候开始，我们就决定设计一个属于我们自己的品牌。
Back in the day, if you go to our neighborhood in Oolong, you'll see there's like 10 stores. And each store is a mom and pop shop, and mostly it's my uncles and distant uncles. A lot of them are family, 80%. And everybody had the similar shop. Everybody's selling exactly the same type of tea. And they all look the same. And being that I'm in the design industry, so when we had this opportunity to redo our tea shop, and I was like, yeah, maybe we should just start it from doing new branding.
Despite their commitment to producing high-quality tea, they remained relatively unknown beyond Yilan. This prompted Fang Chien-ai and her sister to establish a new brand, Gen Tea. Their aims are to promote tea culture and introduce Taiwan tea to the international market.
This year, when National Palace Museum came to us and we were about to do the collaboration for new tea, and so she worked on this one with me, with the National Palace Museum. And what I found really interesting is, it's a Western girl, but all the assignments is all about traditional art.
No, it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
This is all with Fang's direction. you say. No, I mean, seriously, like, he came up with this amazing concept to tie back to the Song Dynasty and the way that they used to serve tea.
Yeah.
And the kind of cups that they used. So, and trying to bring that texture of the cups into the design. So we did a lot of research and use this image here is actually a detail shot of one of the cups from the Song Dynasty. Mm-hmm. And then to literally create this wrapper, and then opening on the inside. So what we did was very different is we ended up putting the painting on the inside.
I don't see that doing international market is that important for us. But my sister always said that she wanted to introduce tea to the world and let people know that when you're drinking a pure tea, meaning that tea doesn't have any additive, not just like after process, it's before process. So you don't do flavor alter kind of fertilizer, which is like organic and all legit, but actually change the taste of the tea. So the way that my sister and my mom making tea is to keep it as traditional as possible, but really bring out the best of the tea.
Ravi, who owns a tea shop in Portland, became a loyal customer after trying Fang Chien-ai's tea many years ago. He introduced her High Mountain tea to the United States, where it has become one of his shop's best-selling products.
So we met in 2015 at a tea show, and right away, drinking their tea, you know, sometimes when you drink tea, it's not only just the immediate flavor, but it's everything that happens after, and especially in Taiwan and China, that is really important, where you have how the tea is tasting initially, but then how it sits in the body, how it feels as the aromas or the fragrant rises back up the throat and into the nose. And so these things are very important. And drinking their tea immediately, I knew that. So it was a very, you know when you drink good tea. And so it was immediately apparent that the tea was going to be good. And so that was the beginning of the relationship. And from there, it was, you know, getting to know I and getting to know Fang and understanding, you know, their mother as well, you know, who's such an important part of the whole process. It's just a really beautiful story, but also, you know, the right intention, the right intention behind making the tea is very important as well. And so it shows in the tea that you taste.
Thanks to Fang Chien-ai's creations, an increasing number of people have developed a love for Taiwanese tea. How is exceptional tea crafted? Each tea harvesting season, tea master Fang Chien-ai traverses various mountainous regions of Taiwan to collaborate with local tea factories. We are privileged to see a batch of spring tea from Yilan being produced and accompany her to a tea factory nestled deep in the mountains to observe the process. We arrive at the factory in the evening as the tea is ready to process. After harvesting, the tea leaves are dried out under the sun and indoors. This process takes 6 to 10 hours to ensure that the moisture evaporates evenly before the next steps.
我们现在看到的前面的这个地方呢，它现在在做茶叶的浸制，通过搅拌之后呢，再让茶叶呢重新再休息，然后等到休息到一段时间以后呢，我们会做一个并堆的动作，那就是这一边这样子一个，它休息过了以后，我们觉得时间可以了，我们就会做并堆的动作。那在台湾哦，这个。 对于什么时候做这个动作，每个人的想法不一样。有的人希望茶叶它看起来是比较，味道比较多的，然后颜色比较丰富的，才去做这个动作。那像我们的话，我们会希望是保留它茶的原始的一个比较原始没有破坏的状态，就来做这样子一个并堆的动作。那会有什么差异？它会展示在喝茶的时候口感上的不同。 做得好不好，这个时候就可以决定80%以上的。其实外面的人都会以为说，茶等到做好才能够决定好坏，真的不是，就是这个时候就大概就是可以知道它好不好了。
While waiting for the tea leaves to rest, Fang Chien-ai takes the opportunity to catch up with the tea factory owner. Her mother, Chen Fu, used to travel up the mountain to assist the owner with tea production.
你妈妈这两在泡茶，我们来也要做茶。他看起来就像一个普通人一样哇。结果后来他就问那个林大哥有没有，他叫他讲到这边来这做一家茶看卖，因为这个月茶没做过嘛。结果你妈妈来时茶开始做茶，我讲我这个是真的一个神人呐、啊，他做茶这么厉害，他从头到尾，他的做法跟一般师傅就不一样，师傅就爱个。 他们都注释的做法，就讲啊，茶材煨掉了后，入去盖内底，普通拢固定2点钟冰一盖嘛。师傅拢有一个看板啊，有一个款那乌帮款的有啊，拢2点钟冰一盖，就是比如10点入去，还是10点入去，好啊12点冰一盖，2点冰一盖，4点冰一盖。啊，你妈妈做茶不是这样子，用手去摸呢。
Tea making involves long hours of labor, especially in the past when there were no machines. Many tasks were extremely physically demanding. Female tea masters, such as Fang Chien-ai's mother, were rare. Their opinions were often overlooked in tea factories, requiring them to prove their expertise to gain respect. The boss recalls an incident where another master had neglected tea leaves for 2 weeks, forgetting about them entirely. These leaves were deemed unusable, but Fang Chien-ai's mother successfully rejuvenated them.
啊，这样我咱做茶时都要2支要，员工就发现那个跟阿妈讲，阿妈，那边那个茶，伊就要淡掉，你知道？大姐看到讲，不要，千万不要丢掉。伊怎样个，他把那个茶叶弄打起来，你知道？伊唔知我看伊个怎样个来人来讲做一种都叫做翻蒸茶啊。 我做开一只茶，也咁样有一只呀。等一下可以喝喝看。有的人讲化腐朽为神奇呀，人家淡掉的物件，人家丢掉的东西，他既然把它变成一个茶。
Time passes quickly, and soon it's midnight. Next, the tea leaves are panned, rolled, and dried.
它现在开始炒茶的时候呢，就会到整个都会做到完，它不会再停止。它停止的时候就是要到做下一个干燥的一个部分嘛，哈。所以它现在判断的时间不是从现在开始判断起，它是要估算它这个的时间，然后炒到下面所有的时间，炒完大概要多久的时间，这都要算进去。 那现在在这个叫做杀菌，就是它用高温把一些低沸点一些停止让它再继续的发酵，然后保留一些比较香气的一些芳香物质。那借由这样子一个高温的动作呢，留下来的东西呢，它就会是我们喝到杯里比较好的一些风味。对，那把一些比较，比如说一些泥土的味道啦，一些比较杂的一些 味道呢，利用这样的高温让它去消散。这个叫揉捻，但每一个地方就它做的会有一点点不一样。 有的人他只是象征性的做个1、2下，然后他就出来了，就这样叫出量。那有的呢，他就是会炒得比较湿，那这个动作会做比较久。为什么会有这样子的差异性呢？因为有了豆腐挤压机以后，这个动作它对他们来说是可有可无。 对，但其实好的茶，它其实就是应该保留它好的一些芳香物质，它不能够炒得太干。
Rolling the tea leaves not only shapes them, but also extracts the surface juices, enhancing the flavor when brewed. The tea leaves are then sent to the drying machine for the initial drying process. This step concludes the tea making process for the night.
OK， 好了，接下来的动作都会到半夜，甚至到5点，都是同样的动作。
In tea making, the timing and fermentation depend on the tea master's skill. However, many people don't understand how fermentation affects tea leaves.
试看看，试看看。
我们现在讲绿茶，大家知道绿茶是不发酵，对不对？那我们现在讲轻发酵，那现在消费者就有一个想法，哦，轻发酵就是它有发酵，但是它偏绿茶。那我现在讲重发酵，然后有一点重，对，但是它到底重到什么样子？那是，它有一点偏铁观音，然后就是有大概就快接近一半而已。那我想我今天是红茶，我大概就知道说，哦，它可能是更重一点的发酵。所以我现在一直在跟他强调说，我只卖我们的原味茶，就是我做好了之后我没有动它，我没有在烘焙它，这个叫做原味茶。如果我动过它的话，它就不叫原味茶，它就是被动过的茶叶了。
Early the next morning, the previous day's tea leaves are sent to another tea factory for rolling, where a tofu making machine serves as a secret weapon.
这个就是豆腐机，然后这个你看哦，它茶叶下去了以后呢，它挤压成块，然后经过一整天下来以后，它会变成是很漂亮的一个茶叶的形状。同时呢，因为它不需要高温，所以它不会破坏茶叶鲜爽的味道。还是那一句话，所有的机器都是死的，但是在这个过程中呢，因为人为的想法呢，会让所有的茶变得有不一样的风味。
Rolling, kneading, and drying, these actions must be repeated continuously to shape the tea leaves. In the early days, when there was a lack of mechanical assistance, these labor-intensive tasks had to be done manually.
你不要小看这个哦，这个跟这个，它这个一压下去的时候，这脚它一按一压，这手一按，这手都会脱皮耶，哎。这都是用那个在压的，然后那个也是。那如果你的手不是很有力道的话，哈，你的手掌是没有办法承受这一个。它压起来整块是像石头一样的重。以前的女生做茶，哈，你想想看，单单那个重量就很重。那我们女生没有那样的力气，我算是有力气的一个。可是现在变成一个团队以后呢，就是所有的人，我们都是一起做，那我们就变成只要是你的理念够好，然后工人就会听你的话去做。
Fang Chien-ai is dedicated to making great tea using traditional methods. However, despite her current passion, there was a time in her childhood when she vowed never to become a tea maker.
1年要做5个月以上的制茶时间，那每一天呢，家里面永远都是有做不完的事。那我从国小2年级我就必须要煮饭，那大概就5年级的时候就会很多人一起吃饭，我就是要做那些事，我就觉得这样的工作实在太辛苦了，我长大一定不要做这么辛苦的工作，我要上班只要上班工作8个小时，其他时间都可以休息。可是呢，当我真的到外面可以去上班的时候呢，我坚持不到一个月我就回来了，因为我觉得我还是最喜欢茶。我小时候在这里工作，做一个干燥机，那时候的干燥机是乙种的，要用手去做调整，做了1个礼拜，瘦了2公斤，非常的辛苦。就我们做茶的人而言，像我们的话就会比较没有办法睡得好，因为这每一个都是我们的心血。从它每一批，从早上的第1批到最后1批，中间大概会有5批的茶叶。这5批的茶叶就会是像你的小孩，你会随时去注意他到底这个时候他需要什么样子的一个对待。那我们要做什么样子的一个因应的变化？那 也因为这样子，可能它不只是1天。如果它是做了5天，我们必须做了5天茶的话，这5天你就是每天都会是过同样的生活，在感受茶叶的变化，然后再感觉这个茶叶它应该要做什么样子的一个对应。
At the age of 18, Fang Chien-ai's parents allowed her to produce the tea herself. The positive feedback and sense of achievement she gained from this experience ignited a profound interest in tea making.
有一次，我的爸爸他就突然之间跟我说：“这批茶全部都让你负责，你必须从开始氧化，然后到制作，做好了以后呢，这个茶呢。”这个交给你，我们都不帮忙，因为它是小众，它那一次的茶应该没有很多，做起来大概就是顶多20-30台斤。那妈妈也没有帮我，爸爸也没有帮我，就我自己决定做每一个动作，对我来说是一个非常新的一个体验，会觉得很紧张，会怕说看错了茶叶的一些方式，但是我又有受过我的舅公他们的教导，所以我知道说判断茶叶应该是从中间来判断前后面的一个那种失误率，改茶会有多少。所以那批茶做起来以后，其实一开始我也不觉得那个茶我做的好不好，因为我对好跟不好也没有很大的一个想法跟概念。但后来听到隔壁说，在那一个年代啊，我做的那个茶它已经卖了800块，那客人很满意，还想要跟他买，所以我才知道说，哦，原来我是成功的，我也会做茶，是这样子。我做的，你感觉好不好？
做茶呀，他有喜欢的就好，就随他就喜欢做就好了。他从小就做，小就做茶了，就期待就是今天做的茶会特别好，就有期待。
你对我有没有任何期待？哈，妈妈，你对我有任何期待吗？
没有任何期待，就是随便你。
From the first generation of the family business being mostly men, to her grandmother, mother, and now Fang Chien-ai, all have been independent women skilled in tea making. Today, her daughter, Xue Yu, is also learning how to make tea.
很常吵架，应该不是只有我跟我妈，就我妈跟就我奶奶可能也是有这个问题。然后我觉得吵架就是一个沟通，可是可能就是处理事情的方法不一样，然后每一代有每一代的做法跟想法，这个很难避免。但是到最后都还是会，它就是往好的方向前进，不然如果大家都不 care 就不会吵架。
他表现得比我还好，对，或许这就是我们家的那种鼓励女生的一个方式，永远都是说女儿最好。
Behind the tea house lies the tea garden of Fang Chien-ai's family, a heritage spanning 4 generations.
"这就是以前我的妈妈，还有我的舅舅、奶奶他们以前要回家必须经过的路，有一点陡，然后要走超过1个半小时才会到我们的家里。这个技术是古老的做法，那现在他们采茶不是这样子的，他们现在采茶都是用刀子在手上，然后抓的方式也不一样。可是我小时候学的是这种采法。采起来就大概是要1星2叶，但现在外面的工人不会采这么漂亮，他会采到4叶5叶。我手听地脚一下半夜，我要来去地山挽地叶，身躯若淡是惊人笑，若无是钱袂要。从开始的排斥到后面想传承，最主要是因为当喝到了很多这样子很棒的原始的茶之后呢，我不希望这个味道年轻的一代都不晓得。我很希望大家能够了解有关我们台湾如何把这样子的味道保留下去，然后它怎么去感动不同的地方的人，还有让我们在生活中因为有茶，它有什么不一样？那如果没有人来做这件事的话，它肯定在 不久的将来就会被高科技取代，那就不会有这样子的东西了。
The popularity of Taiwanese bubble tea originally stemmed from Taiwan's tea culture. Fang not only strives to produce excellent tea, but also actively promotes the unique characteristics of original tea flavors. Through Fang, we witness admirable craftsmanship and women's unique qualities of resilience and gentleness. If you have the chance to visit Yilan, Taiwan, consider tasting a cup of Taiwanese tea crafted by this master craftswoman.